Hi everybody, welcome to the Manifold channel. Today we're going to do an ambitious project in Manifold and we're going to see how quickly we can do it. We have two road networks here in two layers. Here's the roads A layer, that's roads in blue, and here's the roads B layer, that's roads in black. Now there's some overlap between the two layers, but because the two road networks came from two different organizations, the roads don't quite line up. And what we'd like to do is we'd like to find all the blue road lines which correspond with overlaying road lines in black. That is all the A roads that correspond to roads in B. And we can't just do a simple spatial join because the segments don't match exactly, so we have to get close. And we don't want to get segments like this one right here, which is perpendicular to but is not, kind of laying over the top of the lines there. So let's do this real quick, and we're going to start by creating buffers. We use a transform pane to create buffers for geometry. We're going to click on buffers here, and we're going to make these 3,000 meters. I've measured this already with the measurement tool to see exactly how far I want it to be, and we want to put the result into a new table, and we're going to call that new table A buffers, and we'll call that's the drawing, and the table for that is going to be an A buffers table. And if we preview, you can see how what that's going to create. Great. So let's click transform. And there we've just done it. And now let's use the transform pane again to create buffers for roads B, and that's going to be called B buffers. And you can see how we can do repetitive tasks in Manifold very quickly. We don't have to re-enter all this stuff because it just remembers what we did previously. Click preview and we can see that's creating the buffers for the B roads. Click transform and there we created the B buffers. Great, so let's put the A buffers into that drawing. Let's put it underneath there. And let's put the B buffers into the drawing there. And what we're going to do is we're going to make the A buffers. Let's style those so those are in, let's make them bright blue like that. And we'll make the B buffers. No, let's make it a slightly different blue. Let's make it a little bit darker blue. Let's make it like that. There we go. And let's make the B buffers yellow. Let's pick a nice yellow like that. And here in the layers pane, let's set the transparency for the buffers, both buffers, to 20%. There. So that kind of gives us a quick visualization of how all this looks. Shift Control A to deselect all those, and you can see that where they overlap, we get a nice green color, the composition, and like here where it crosses, we can see the yellow of the one and the green of the other. All right, super. So we have just that. Now, you might think that the next thing we might do is do an overlay intersect, but if we did that, we'd run into trouble up here where there's a bunch of different buffers in the A buffers layer that all come together. And when you do an overlay intersect, that's an Esri style transform, and it assumes that all the objects, there are no overlapping objects in the same layer. And if there are overlapping objects, it just picks the regions from one of the other of them, and that leads to a complicated mess. So we're going to have to do this kind of like the long way around. And the first thing we're going to do is, based on using the A buffers layer, we're going to create lines from those buffers. So the way we do that is we're going to use the convert template, and using A buffers, so we're going to convert that to lines, and we're going to put that result into a new table. And we're going to call that new table, let's see, let's call it A buffer lines, A buffer lines table. Click preview, and you can see it's going to create lines for us. Great, so let's click transform. And there we just created the A buffer lines table. Let's turn this off, and let's turn this off too, and this off as well. And we'll go back so we can just see what we've done here. And let's drag and drop the A buffer lines drawing into the drawing, so you can see those are our lines. And now what we're going to do based on A buffer lines is we're going to fill in all the gaps between the lines to make areas. So that'll make areas. That's kind of equivalent to doing a self-intersect, as it were, on the same layer. And the way we do that is we use transform. And if we couldn't remember what we do for bounded areas, we could enter bounded into here to find the right one. But I know already that it's trace. So based on the A buffer lines area, we want to trace. I'm going to create a new geom result type, and the new drawing we were going to call let's call it bounded areas, bounded A buffer areas. Let's call it bounded A buffer areas. Okay, I'm copying this off screen from where I have my workflow little cheat sheet. Great, and if I do a preview, that'll show the different areas it'll create. That's cool. So let's click transform. Great, and I'll drop those lines out, and we'll put the areas here. In fact, we don't need these buffer bounded area lines anymore. Delete from map. This we don't need anymore, so we delete that from the map. Right click and choose delete from map. Now here in the bounded areas map, it also filled in the areas in places like this, and we don't want those areas. And the way we can get rid of those areas is by doing a join between the A buffers and the bounded area buffers, and that's easy to do. So let's just click here, edit, join, and we want to see the bounded area buffers every place where it let's see, it is contained in the A buffer's geometry. All right, and if I do that, that should be right. And let's click here. Let's click MFD ID. That's going to be our marker. And when I click join, it'll automatically adapt the bounded A buffer areas table. If I open that table there, you can see that some places there are nulls and other places there are not nulls. Let's put that table here. Let's sort by this. And now every place where there's a null, let's select that. And you can see that what we've done is all the places which were not contained by are these areas here in between. So those are easy to choose, edit, delete. Delete selected records, yeah, you bet. And that gets rid of those. Okay, so now we've just cleaned up the bounded area buffers table. And now let's do a little bit more cleanup. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an area here because I want to get rid of all these little areas. I just want to keep the bigger areas in the bounded areas table. And the way to do that is I'm going to use a schema dialog. I'm going to copy something off screen here. Okay, so here with the focus on that table, I'm going to choose Edit, Schema. And I'm going to add a new field, and I'm going to call that field Area. May as well leave it in 32 since we're not being super accurate here. And I'm going to create an expression, get the area of that the geometry. Click OK. Click Save Changes. And now the table has acquired this new area field. That's a computed field. I can sort on that field. And if you look at this, you can see that starting here with very small areas, it goes all the way up here to right around here someplace where there's a big break, and suddenly they become pretty big. If I select all those, you can see that I've pretty much selected all the ones that I want. Let's notch off some of the very biggest ones there. And I've selected all the smaller areas right there, and that gets rid of all the junk near the intersections. I don't want to use those in subsequent joins because I don't really need it. I'm really looking for relationships along the body of the lines. And so once again, we're going to choose Edit, Delete. We're going to delete all of those records. Great. And now I'm going to close this table. And now you can see we now have this bounded area buffers table layer, which is kind of neat here. And what that does is that you can see how that kind of corresponds to the A roads and how it corresponds to the B roads and how it corresponds to the B buffers. Let's color this bounded area layers with again, let's use a light blue. Let's use this blue. And let's also make that about 20% transparency. That's a little bit, yeah, that's good enough. May as well just leave it 20% transparency. So now you can see where the regions of overlap are that are kind of intersections, and are now we can do is we can do a topology overlay, and up here in these complicated regions, there's going to be very simply we're not going to have all these different shards of bits and pieces of areas complicating the matter in terms of the buffer areas. Let's go to the location that I previously saved. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a transform, and we're going to do an overlay, and we're going to use the B buffers layer, and we're going to overlay that with the bounded A buffer areas, and we're going to do an intersect, and the result we're going to call the resulting drawing an overlay intersect, and the table overlay intersect table. And if I click a preview, you can see where the overlay intersection is going to be. And so let's click transform to actually put that into action. I love the previews, by the way. It's really, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of an imperfect operator. So for me, it's a big deal to have this stuff get done accurately. And let's turn off the B buffers and turn on roads A, and here's roads B. And overlay intersect is what what we want, and that overlay intersect is going to be, let's style that. Let's style those areas using this color, hot pink. That's kind of a little bit too active. Let's use that medium lilac. And as we zoom in here, you can see how there's how the overlay intersection areas that we created overlay considerably large portions of the roads that we have in the roads A layer. So what we can now do is we can do a join between the overlay intersect layer, a spatial join between overlay intersect and the roads A, and we can just do no, there's one last thing we want to do, because there's a lot of shards still in the overlay intersect layer, so we want to get rid of those shards. And the way we're going to do that is I'm going to pop open that table again, and let's undock it this way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in an area. Once again, I'm going to do that area trick. I'm going to get rid of the small areas. This is a legacy overlay area that was brought in from that we had before. So we're going to create that's from the old field that we overlaid in. Using the schema dialog, I'm going to create an area field. That's a computed field. Again, it's area, and I'm going to make that a computed field. So that's expression. Click OK. And click OK there, and now save changes. Great. And now we have this new area field, which is, once again, we can see how there's all these different areas. And if we let's go here to the overlay intersect, about like that, so we can see both this and the table at the same time. I'm going to select all the tiny areas here, and I think up to about here should be about right. So let's get rid of the overlay. So that gets rid of all the simple ones. It still leaves this guy here. So let's let's click that right there, and that's pretty much all the little areas. So let's just delete those. Edit, delete, and now we've cleaned up all the shards from the that overlay intersect layer, and now we have a nice clean layer that we can use to overlay with the roads A. Let's turn off roads B. And these, where there's a spatial join that occurs between roads A and overlay intersect, those are the roads that in roads A that are in common with roads B, that are overlaid by roads B. So let's get right to that. Let's do the join, edit join, and we want to choose all roads A that where the geometry touches the geometry in overlay intersect, and we can just carry over an MFD ID field. Let's rename that to touched. Okay, click join. And what we've now done is we added a new field to the roads A table. Let's undock it. I want to undock it this way, where here they are. These are the guys that are touched. So we can just sort by touched, and up here select these. And as you can see, I've just selected all the roads which are touched. Let's close that. So if I zoom out to roads A, you can see we've selected all the roads A that are touched by the field. There is one error that's down here, in that we have one more. Then we have a dangle here, which is touched by this, because we didn't clean up this end right there. But if we had like a few 100,000 roads that we wanted to compare, where two road sets came together, we would get about 98–99% of the job done by doing it automatically like this. I hope you've enjoyed this short video. We've done quite a lot of work here, and we've only done it in less than 14 minutes. And that's not even counting the explanations. So as you can see, Manifold is very fast to do a spatial task like this. You can do all sorts of clever and fast optimizations and get exactly the right sort of spatial relationships that you want. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, tell your friends about Manifold. Manifold doesn't advertise, so it depends on the goodwill of customers and delivering a really outstanding product for the money. For people to tell their friends about it and to gain new users. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope everybody has a wonderful new year in 2022. Thanks for watching, and goodbye from Manifold Land. Well, that was fun. If you want to see more, visit us at www.manifold.net. As always, Manifold delivers the world's most advanced, highest quality spatial products for GIS and DBMS at a low price that you can afford. Once again, that's manifold.net. See you soon.